Welcome. If the public participation process is not undertaken according to the minimum requirements prescribed in the EIA Regulations of 2014, then it will undermine the integrity of the application for an environmental authorization, resulting in its potential refusal. So in this video, we highlight those minimum requirements, the least that a person must do when performing a public participation. Welcome. My name is Sean McGregor of Ecolegis Environmental Consultants based in Mpumalanga, South Africa, and we're on a mission to empower all South Africans to protect their environment through the correct interpretation and application of our environmental legislation. So if you want to learn how our environmental law applies to you, how to avoid unnecessary and costly mistakes, if you want to increase your knowledge and skills to reduce your reliance on external consultants, if you are in need of mentorship, or you just want to earn CPD points for your professional registration, then I suggest you subscribe to this channel. You can do that by swiping over the icon to the bottom right hand side of your screen, and if you do know of anyone else who can benefit, please help us spread the message by liking them. Thank you. We continue with the series Environmental Impact Assessments, and the title of this video is Public Participation Process. Our source of information or reference is the amended EIA Regulations of 2014, so I'll include a link to those regulations in the description below. Now, an environmental assessment practitioner or any other person conducting a public participation process must take into account the public participation process guideline in terms of NEMA EIA regulations published by the Department of Environmental Affairs in 2017. So although I only cover the guideline in our Part 2 for patrons, I will also include a link to that document in the description below. One of the first things that an applicant or proponent needs to do, that is before even submitting an application for environmental authorization, is to obtain written consent of the landowner or the person in control of the land to undertake the proposed activity on that land, unless of course the applicant or proponent is the landowner. Now there are some exceptions, or exemptions rather, that is, consent is not required for linear activities, for activities relating to or constituting mining, and strategic integrated projects contemplated in terms of the Infrastructure Development Act of 2014. Now, one of the first things that you will want to do, that is as early as possible, is to give all potential interested and affected parties notice of the application or proposed application. I say proposed application because it is possible to commence with the public participation process, including the notice period, before submitting an application for environmental authorization. Now, the notice period allows potential interested and affected parties to register. So we do suggest, in terms of Regulation 3.8, that the notice period runs for at least 30 days before distributing any reports or plans for comment. We further suggest that you commence with the notice period before submitting an application, just to buy yourself more time. Notice involves fixing a notice board, giving a written notice, advertising, and using reasonable alternative methods. Let's start with fixing a notice board. A notice board needs to be fixed at a place that is conspicuous to and accessible by the public. In other words, it must be clearly visible and the public must be able to reach it to read it. It must be at the boundary, on the fence, or along the corridor of the site where the proposed activity will be undertaken, as well as any alternative sites. So the chances are you will be preparing or creating more than one site notice board. These boards need to be clearly visible, so they need to be big enough that is at least 60 by 42 centimeters in size. And we do suggest contacting the competent authority to find out whether they have determined a lettering or a format that should be used. If they haven't, then just use common sense, like not using, for example, a cursive or fancy font that would make it difficult for the public to read. When giving a written notice, you can use any one of those means or methods described in Section 47D of NEMA. It includes delivering it by hand, sending it by registered mail, faxing a copy of the notice, emailing a copy of the notice, in which case we do recommend that you ask for a read receipt, and also posting it by ordinary mail. Now, when you do give written notice, you need to give it to at least the following people. They include the landowner or person in control of a land, unless the landowner is the applicant or proponent, as well as the occupiers of the site and any alternative site. Written notice must be given to the landowner, person in control, and occupiers of land adjacent to the site where the proposed activity will be undertaken and adjacent to any alternative sites. Then, notice must also be given to the municipal councillor of the ward in which the site is situated, as well as any organisation of ratepayers that represents the community within that area. The municipality, which has jurisdiction in the area, and any other organ of state which has jurisdiction in respect of any aspect of the activity that is being proposed. And then finally, any other party that the competent authority requires you to involve. When advertising, you can either place an advert in any official gazette specifically published for providing public notice of applications, or you can place an advert in one local newspaper. And if the activity has or may have impacts that extend beyond the boundaries of the metropolitan or district municipalities, then also in a provincial or national newspaper. And finally, reasonable alternative methods need to be considered and agreed to by the competent authority in those instances where persons or potential INAPs are either illiterate, disabled, or have any other disadvantage. The notice board, the written notice, and the advertisement must include details about the proposed application, including but not limited to whether the application is for a basic or a scoping and environmental impact assessment, the listed or specific activities being triggered, a concise description of the nature and location of the activity, where further information can be obtained, and how and to whom representations can be made. When determining how representations can be made, please be mindful of the fact that participation must be facilitated so that everyone has a reasonable opportunity to comment. Not everyone is going to have a cell phone or email. Once you've notified all potential interested and affected parties, you'll need to open and maintain a register of INAPs. The register records the name, contact details and addresses of everyone who submitted comments or attended meetings, of all persons who requested in writing to be placed on the register, as well as all organs of state which have jurisdiction in respect of any aspect of the activity that is being applied for. The registered INAPs must then be given at least 30 days to comment on any draft reports, whether it's a basic assessment report, a scoping report, environmental management program, or a closure plan. These reports or plans must contain all information that reasonably has or may have the potential to influence any decision regarding the application. The comments and responses are then recorded in a comments and response report or sheet. This sheet, as well as any minutes to the meetings that were undertaken, must be attached to the reports and plans that are submitted to the competent authority. I just want to give you a quick hint regarding the calculation of the 30-day comment period. Please take into consideration or be mindful of the timeframes prescribed in Chapter 2 of the amended EIA Regulations of 2014. When you start counting, you don't count from a particular day, but rather the day following a particular day. So for example, if you submitted a report on the 9th, you only start counting the 30-day comment period from the 10th. That period must also end on a day that is not a Saturday, Sunday, or public holiday. And please remember that the period, the 15th of December until the 5th of January, is excluded from the public participation process. It is worth noting that the notice period and dissemination of reports or plans for comments can be performed prior to the submission of an application for environmental authorization. However, just be warned that if you do submit any plans or reports for comments, it doesn't constitute the compulsory or required 30-day comment period. In other words, once you've submitted the application, you still need to provide opportunity for INAPs to comment, specifically the 30-day comment period, on those reports or plans. And that's it. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope this has been helpful, and once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. If you have joined our membership program, then you will receive an additional video. We actually go into or cover the public participation process guideline document. If you haven't, then check out our membership program on Patreon. Otherwise, if you're looking for a consultant to help you with a once-off project, you are welcome to visit our website. I encourage you to check out our previous video. We covered need and desirability, a very underrated aspect of EIAs. The next video, we look at the basic protocols of auditing. Subscribe, click on the bell notification icon. That's not it, that's the like button. Like it if you want to help spread the message. Otherwise, thank you, keep strong, and God bless.